Hi everyone!
So today we'll be doing an in-depth analysis on Promenade Peak. Jay, I heard this is actually the tallest pure residential building in River Valley. Also will feature the highest infinity pool in Singapore, which is above MBS.
Wow, that's going to be something very impressive to have. That's right, and this building is actually very tall. In fact, from the top floor to the lowest floor, the price difference can be a very big gap. And it will offer opportunities to different buyers. For those who have done their homework, they will know that there are some unit types actually worth considering here, even though a lot of people are actually waiting for River Green. Also, right, which are the floor levels which are deemed a safe entry price to buy, and which floor levels to avoid. Knowing all these things will be very crucial in you getting a good deal in these two weekend of choices between Promenade Peak, River Green, or even Upper House and Robertson Opus.
So this development is in District 3, address is 1 Zion Promenade, which is right across one of the largest malls in the central Great World City. And it's also just 1 to 2 MRT stops away from Orchard. Travelling is also very convenient as it is in between Great World City MRT as well as Havelock MRT over here, which is just 1 and 2 MRT stops away from Orchard respectively. And the popular Zion Riverside food court is right across the street, which is well known for their food.
Okay, so why some people like to stay in River Valley, right? I think there are two main reasons. Firstly, in terms of the location, it's actually right in between CBD and Orchard. So if I were to put it in this map, right? Let's say for example, Great World City is here, then Orchard will be just right on top, and then CBD will be by this side. So it's a very convenient place whereby it's easy for them to shuttle between work, and then for the families that are staying with them and they're not working, it's very convenient for them to go over to the Orchard area as well. And over here now we have the newly refurbished Great World City Mall, so they offer a lot of choices in terms of F&B, shops and supermarkets. For River Valley, right, compared to let's say Marina Bay or Orchard Road, over here is actually nearer to the heartlands like Tiong Bahru and Redhill, all this. So to the local family, it's much more livable. And I have served some families who are staying here. They can be owning 2 to 3 units over here in the River Valley area, meaning that they live in one unit and the other units they actually rent out around here. It's actually quite easy to rent out. The pricing of these units for let's say like the 3 and 4 bedders can be like in the 4 to 5 million range. Furthermore, there are also many PRs and foreigners who like to stay in this area. So this development is developed by All Green Properties, which is under the Kwok Group that has a strong track record in residential, commercial, retail and mixed-use developments. Some of the ones that we might be more familiar with would be Pasir Ris 8, an integrated development mall above Pasir Ris MRT, and also Great World, as we have mentioned, which is just right across Promenade Peak.
So Jay, you asked just now, right, how many stories is this development? So here is your answer, a towering 63 stories.
Wow, I cannot imagine the views from the highest floor.
Yeah, so based on this slide, you can actually see that Promenade Peak, compared to the surrounding area, it's actually the tallest residential building at 63 stories, which is more than double the height of the surrounding developments over here. You can imagine how nice would the view actually be and the skyline as you overlook from all the surrounding buildings in this development.
Looking at the project details, just now we mentioned that address is at 1 Zion Promenade. It's at District 3. I feel that this will not be as important as it is when it comes to the resale market, because for example, we have seen properties nearby like Riviera, right? Even though it's just across the river from District 9 where Avenue is, but Riviera still does very well. So I think in future, if you need to sell, buyers are still more concerned about the particular locality rather than the postal code in this case. And over here, we have 596 units. This is housed in a 63-story block. Expected possession would be Q4 2029. For these 596 units, right, Promenade Peak provides 477 car park lots, in which the ratio is approximately 0.8. It's actually almost direct access to the MRT stations. Most of the units, especially the 1 and 2 bedders, right, they might not find owning a car necessary when they live in this kind of well-connected area.
Yeah, true. If I already stay in Orchard area, I can actually make do without a car already, especially since cars are so expensive nowadays.
Yeah, it will be so convenient to get around. In terms of the unit mix, right, there's a diverse range from 1 plus study all the way to the 5 bedrooms and even penthouse. Majority of this development will be 2 bedders, adding up to 320 units. But when we come over to the central area, right, let's say compared to places like RCR or even OCR, my take is that actually the 2 plus study are considered own stay in this area. Why do I say so, right? Because it's actually quite expensive to live in town, and people can actually compromise staying in a smaller unit as compared to, let's say, if you're staying in outskirts like Jurong or Woodlands. So you don't be surprised that there are actually a lot of people using the 2 plus study for their own stay. So in terms of the numbers, when we break down the unit mix, right, let's say when we come to investment units, about 280 of them are actually for investment, okay? And then maybe out of these 120 2 plus study, maybe I calculate half of them for own stay and half of them for investment. So when you work out the numbers, right, actually the number of units for own stay compared to the number of units for investment, it can be almost half-half ratio.
Take a look at these views. These will be what the future homeowners will be able to enjoy, which is not easy to find in Singapore. So the left one over here shows the north facing, which you'll be able to see Great World, Zion Riverside, Food Court, and even all the way until Orchard Road over here. The right one is towards the southeast view, where you have your Fort Canning, MBS, and even an unobstructed view all the way towards the East Coast area.
Now let's take a look at the facilities that Promenade Peak has to offer. This is the ground floor area which is known as Grand Promenade.
Wow, this place really look quite atas
You can see that this really gives a luxe and high-end condo vibes with its marble finishings and the landscaping that gives it an exclusive resort-like atmosphere. Actually, the color scheme here, right? It reminds me of the refurbished Great World City as they come from the same developer.
So when we move up to level 22, we will reach this level called the Social Peak. Some highlights of this place includes the Cabana Cove and the floating hammock. This place is particularly for residents and guests to relax or socialize in this communal space.
Moving further up to level 43, you will reach this area called the Wellness Peak. Daryl, can you tell, right, what is this? You don't see the name, can you tell, what will be here?
I guess it's for fitness or.
It's for you to work on your fitness and your wellness. And over here, you get unobstructed views of the skyline, especially with these floor-to-ceiling windows in the gym here. This boxing area here is also outdoors. You can imagine the fresh air you get when you're working out in this. Not only we have the boxing zone, right? There are some people who like to do outdoor activities, right? We have the calisthenic zone over here, and together with climbing. And then there's some areas here for you to do your so-called exercises.
Actually, this area over here, right, looks a bit like the hybrid high rocks training that everyone's going through now.
Yeah, I think it's quite popular, and this project is actually in trend in terms of the facilities.
As we move on to the highest floor, we have the Sky Peak, which is the roof. I don't know how many times we say imagine the views already, but this one I really don't know how to imagine. Let's walk through a little bit because we can see that the developer actually put a lot of effort in this. So this function room over here, which is called the Club Sky Peak, that you can book for your guests, and they will confirm be impressed when they overlook through these floor-to-ceiling windows. And as we see from this Sky Infinity pool over here, this side is actually towards the north side. As we mentioned before, it's towards Orchard Road. Hence, you'll get a really very nice unobstructed view all the way to the end. So after going through the facilities of the development, let's take a look at how the developers actually segregate the unit mix according to the floors. It's firstly divided into two distinct zones, Promenade Suites and Promenade Collection. Promenade Suites, which is on the upper floors, it consists of the 3 to 5 bedroom units with full private lift access. And there's only 6 floors per unit, which emphasizes exclusivity and luxury. While for the Promenade Collection ones, which is the middle to the lower floor, it consists of 1 to 3 bedroom units with around 9 to 12 units per floor. So it caters to a mix of singles, couples, and even families. Then we go towards the floor to height comparison. The Promenade Suites has a 3.325 meters compared to the collection which only is at 3.150 meters. You can tell that with the slightly taller ceiling of 3.325 meters, it gives you a much more luxury kind of vibe in the house itself.
Darryl, remember that time we went to the show flat and we looked at the model? There are some balcony railings that are wide on certain levels only, and on other levels, right, it's like a normal glass window like that.
Yeah, I remember, and so it doesn't look uniform, but I guess there is an order to that which is quite confusing.
As mentioned, given a choice, right, between this and this, I will definitely choose this one. So when it comes to the unique choices, we have to be very careful because this is what we have spotted in the show flat when we look at the side model itself. And having this and this, right, will mean that your views from the balcony can be different. Based on this slide, right, it will give you a better and easier understanding of the segregation. The diagrammatic chart on the right, shows what kind of unit layout there is on each level. Darryl mentioned just now that we have the Promenade Collection over here, as well as the Promenade Suites. So based on this, we can see, right, there will be about 3 tierings in terms of the level. From level 1 all the way to level 21, that's tier number 1. And then followed by that, we have the Sky Terrace, which is the social peak over here. And then we come to the tiering number 2, which is level 23 to level 42. And on top of this level 42, we do have the wellness peak, the exercise zone over at level 43. From level 44 onwards, right, that is where our Promenade Suites collections are. Based on this facade, right, and what we have noticed, right, these units over here, for example, this unit this side, right, they are not a combined floor plate between these few units. So for example, like DP1, when you look at the floor plan, it is not a combine between BS1 and AS1. So they actually so-called redesigned the layout over here. So you can treat this level 44 to level 62 like an entirely different condo there. And the pricing will be slightly different because it's also on the higher level.
After going through what's there to offer on the building itself, let's take a look at Grand Promenade, which is the ground floor level of the development. First things first, let's just see where the side gates are located at. There's actually 2 side gates A and side gate B. A is towards the Great World City area, while side gate B over here is actually towards a fully sheltered walkway to Havelock MRT. So you don't have to worry if it actually rains or not, you can still go to your MRT without being drenched. Yeah. As the development is not, say, very big, so having this just 2 side gates would actually be sufficient already. Besides the arrival hall over here, we have the canopy, which is the upper level, consists of the treetop walk. The promenade over here consists of the 50-meter lap pool and the function rooms. The waterscape that has a hydro spa. The enclave over here, which is more for family bonding time, with the family pool and all. And lastly over here, which actually caught my attention, is the alfresco that has a pickleball court over here. So Jay, do you actually have friends who play pickleball?
Yes, I've seen many people starting to pick up pickleball for some reason.
Yeah, so same here. And it actually shows how the developer is attuned to adopting to current lifestyle trends and also resident preferences.
Now we will be going through some pricing trends that we see in the tall buildings of the River Valley and Clarke Quay area. And then when we add this together with the developer's pricing strategy, right, we will want to so-called derive the top-down price for Promenade Peak. Firstly, we look at Irwell Hill. We notice that for this 36-story tower, right, the per floor jump increment for the units, that means let's say from level 1 to level 2 and level 2 to level 3, all these per floor increment, generally for the 1 and 3 bedders is between 0.35% to 0.37%, and it's quite consistent. That means let's say from a level 1 all the way to the top floor, the per floor increment is about the same. And for the 4 bedders, it's coming in at around 0.2%.
If you go to Canning Hill Piers, one of the blocks is actually 48 stories with pretty beautiful views at certain facings. And on the lower floors, the price trend is actually very similar to Irwell Hill. So for example, the 1 bedders at 0.35%, while the rest of the 2 bedder and 3 bedder is at 0.25 and 0.26% respectively.
Darrell, what is this 0.5% over here and 0.3% over here for the higher floors?
Okay, so actually Canning Hill Piers has some similarities to Promenade Peak in the sense that for some stacks, the lower floors are smaller units, and when it reaches a certain level, the stack actually becomes the more bigger unit, which we see from the Promenade Suites and the Promenade Collection differences. Next, we want to find out how the developer actually priced their 3-bedder and 4-bedder at certain levels. It was quite difficult to find good data, but we managed to find a suitable one here at Viva Condo.
So in this Viva Condo, we have 3 stacks of 3-bedder at stack 9, stack 10, and stack 2, which is noted over here. All the same facing. And then we also have a stack of 4 bedders at stack 1, which is indicated here. You can see, right, for very similar time periods, at the lower floor, from 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom, right, the reduction in PSF is about 2 to 3%. And then on the middle floor, right, the reduction of PSF from the 3-bedroom to the 4-bedroom in terms of the developer pricing is around 4%. So I give you an example, this unit here, sold in 3rd September 2029, done for 1568 PSF. At the same floor level, right, the PSF for the 4 bedrooms is 1492 PSF. This is a reduction in terms of the PSF of 4.85% for this floor level. We can see this trend, right, as the floor level gets higher, okay, the reduction in terms of the PSF is also higher. Okay, so for lower floors, it's 2 to 3%, mid-floor 3 to 4%, and on the higher floors, it's actually 4 to 5%. After going through the pricing patterns in the CCR high-rise as we have seen in Irwell Hill and Canning Hill Piers, together with the developer's pricing strategy in terms of the 3 and 4 bedders as the floor level goes up higher, right, we have managed to map out the entire block's PSF for Promenade Peak over here. This is extremely important for you because if you understand, right, you will learn how to spot opportunities here because this is a high-rise. And there will definitely be a good spread of prices in terms of the floor level. Which is the floor level you should avoid and which is the floor level you should consider based on the pricing, that you have to be very clear. That's why we spend so much time thinking and doing this for you. So how do we do this pricing, right? We start from top down. We make an estimate on what is the highest price that the developer will sell the unit, which is at the top floor. Because for me, let's say if I set my pricing ceiling at a certain price, right, it's easier for me to do the increment down. That means I calculate the per floor increment down based on my top floor. And for the different unit types, right, will my PSF be the same or not? So for example, at the top floor, will my 1-bedroom PSF be the same as the top floor 3-bedroom PSF or not? Okay? Or will the 1-bedroom top floor PSF be the highest in the development? These are the things that we're actually thinking about. So for our case, right, we map out that the highest PSF in the development will be the 1-bedder at 3450 PSF. We know that there's no 1-bedder at the top floor, but this is just for calculation purposes. Okay, so 3450 PSF for the 1-bedder at top floor, followed by the 2-bedder at 3400 PSF, and the 3-bedder at 3300 PSF. From here, right, let's say the 1-bedder is 3450 PSF at the top floor. It's just that they choose not to build a 1-bedder here, I'm just talking about the pricing. Using 3450 PSF for the 1-bedder, we will minus the increment per floor level until we get the second floor price. And based on what we see in Canning Hill Piers, right, Canning Hill Piers above a certain level, they have unobstructed views. So their per floor increment is higher compared to the lower floor per floor increment. And that's something that I want to implement here as well. So from level 44 all the way to level 43 at the Promenade Suites, I will factor in 0.5% increment per floor level around this range. And then once we get to the lower floors, right, the per floor increment, I will set it at 0.35%. So when I work my way down for the 1-bedder for 3450 PSF all the way until the second floor, right, My starting PSF, my guesstimate here will be 2703 PSF for the one bedder. So these are our predicted starting prices for these few units. I feel that let's say if they were to do marketing, okay, this entry PSF or below 2006 will be very attractive to a lot of people looking in the market. So that's half the battle done. Now we haven't calculated the pricing for the actual Promenade Suites as well. Okay, the difficult thing to calculate is for the upper floor lah, because the top floor are the bigger units. For the same floor level, the bigger unit normally have lower PSF. But in this case, right, all these big units are in the upper floor. So how should we gauge this pricing, right? Okay, remember the strategy we saw just now at Viva, at the higher floors? The 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom, the markdown is higher at higher levels. So for example, for Viva, it will be 2% to 3%, 3% to 4%, and 4% to 5%, right? So I want to try to implement the same thing over here. At higher floor levels, just now we've seen that the so-called the 3-bedroom highest PSF will be 3003. Okay, and then when I mark down to the 4 bedrooms, okay, I will take a 4% reduction in terms of the PSF at the higher levels here. So 3003 for the 3-bedroom would translate to 3168 PSF for the premium 4 bedrooms here at the top floor. And correspondingly at the lower levels, it will be at 3.5% reduction and 2.5% reduction respectively.
Okay, now moving on to the 1+ study. We have 2 stacks over here. Not too many, which is good, and both layouts come in at 527 square feet. The only difference I see here is actually the entrance. This entrance on the right over here is slightly wider compared to the one on the left, which is actually the one I prefer, because rather than having the kitchen taking up so much space over here, it actually gives you a much more wider area in terms of the living area as well.
Hey Daryl, I noticed right that there are long lines here in the floor plan. What are these?
Okay, so these are actually extended out because it's for privacy purposes. So for example, for stack 6, so stack 6 you can see here, there's this small portion whereby stack 5 is actually overlapping over. So having these things sticking out actually gives you more privacy for the people living in stack 6 itself. And when you look at stack 7, right, it's the same thing. Stack 8 is slightly protruding out towards them, so there's this wall over here to serve the same purpose as well.
Also do note about these aluminium railings that we were talking about just now. Remember that we are saying that some levels have the white railings and then some levels don't have, right? And these are located in these floor levels. Personally, I don't really like it. So given a choice, if given a choice between have or don't have, I prefer don't have the railing. But of course, we have to discuss again when we go to the actual balloting, because we have to see the unit's availability and price point at a certain point of time.
Now to compare the Promenade Peak layout to nearby condos, so a similar competitor will be Riviera. As we can see here, its size is actually slightly bigger at 560 square feet compared to 527 square feet for Promenade Peak.
But when we count the internal space, right, is there a big difference or not? Let's count. So we can see over here, right, Promenade Peak, bedroom and toilet. Size is about 15.8 square meters, very similar to the master bedroom and bath we have at Riviera. Balcony is smaller over here at 4.4 square meters compared to the 7 square meters at Riviera, which I find it okay because I don't really use the balcony so much. In terms of the living room, okay, Riviera's living plus kitchen add up is around 26 square meters. While over here, mine is 22.6 square meters for Promenade Peak. So it's slightly smaller. But don't forget, if I add in this study area, right, then this area combined will be bigger than the one in Riviera already. Technically, right, for these two layouts, in terms of the usable space is very similar, in fact almost the same.
So for this same Riviera layout, the average price is actually transacted at around 1.648 million with an average rental of 5,300 per month. So when you take 5,003 times 12 divided by the quantum amount, you actually get 3.85% as rental yield. Meaning this amount is actually already accepted in the market. There's a range of rental amount from 4.8 all the way to 6.2k. So when you translate this to Promenade Peak, I will actually use the estimate of 5,002 for a low mid floor and 5,005 for the mid to high floors.
For Promenade Peak, I will break down into 3 segments as I mentioned just now. We have the low mid floor, mid high floor, and of course we have the higher floor at the Promenade Suites. Assuming that we'll be using these PSF increments based on the calculations that we have done, my guesstimate for the 1+ study here at 527 square feet, my guesstimate level 2 to level 21, it will roughly be from 1.424 to 1.522 million. Okay, and we go to the second tier from level 23 to level 42. My guesstimate here is 1.533 million to 1.638 million. Of course, if we guess the top floor pricing wrongly, we can always key in to adjust the price so that we can always recalculate what are the other pricing over at the lower floor levels. And for here, right, I want to use 2 kind of rental pricing because due to this height, right, even at this height of 40 over stories, the view will be different between here and here. Okay, so more or less, the tenant were also willing to pay a bit more for rent in terms of the higher floor level here. Therefore, we will use 5,002 for this lower floor range in terms of the rental. We already compared with Riviera that the sizing is about the same. And then for the higher floor level with a slightly better view, I'll factor in $300 more in terms of the rent. Based on 5,002 rental, and then coming in at a pricing of 1.424 to 1.522 million, right? This gives a rental yield of 4.1 to 4.38%. And then for the higher floor level, even with the higher rental, okay, take note that the purchase price is higher, we are still able to achieve yields of above 4%. Okay, it's just that it will be slightly lower compared to the low to mid floors lah. So I give you an example. We take this low to mid floor unit, okay, one of the unit over here at 1.47 million, okay, rental 5,002. So based on this 5,002, right, the rental yield is 4.24%. And remember just now for Rivier, the accepted rental yield is already 3.85%. To sell it back at 3.85% rental yield, I have to sell at a price of 1.62 million. So 1.62 million will be my capital gain because I purchased the price from 1.47 million. So that will give me a gain of about 150,000. Okay, and based on my down payment of this unit, it's just an estimate, 25% with 5% buyer stamp duty, my down payment for this unit will be 441,000. So with returns of 150,000, right, based on my down payment of 441,000, my returns based on this down payment will be 34%. And nowadays we have the seller stamp duty of 3 years increased to 4 years. Sorry for my typo here. Here is supposed to be 34.15. And when I take 34.15, I divide by the 4 years, right? This will give me a per annum gain of 8.54%, which is very, very decent. And when we come to the higher floor, it's the same thing. Buying at 1.593, for example, rental at 5,005 gives us a rental yield of 4.14%. If we were to sell it at the same 3.85% rental yield, okay, we have to sell at 1.71 million, and that translates to a lower gain of 120,000. So based on our down payment of 30,000 more at 478k, then this will give me a return of 25.24%, which annually translates to 6.31% per annum. So based on this, right, let's say if I want a per annum increase of minimally 6.5% per annum, based on our calculation of the rental and the pricings here, right, I will want to focus for the low to mid floor, I will want to focus on 2nd to 16th floor based on our calculation, and anything from 17 to 21 floor will be the pricing that I want to avoid because I will not be able to hit a certain rental yield, and as a result, my selling price, my capital gain will not be able to help me hit 6.5% per annum. And using the same calculation formula for the mid to high floors, right, I will have to cut off from 34th floor onwards already. That means 33 floor below I will consider, 34th floor above we will have to cut off because the pricing is not right based on our investment goals.
Now let's move on to the two bathers. So there's actually a total of 5 layouts here. And these four, B2, B3, B4 and B5, is actually very similar with minor differences in the entrance and the facing. So the unique one is actually B1 over here. This is the only one with an L-shaped kitchen against the wall. Helps to make the living room overall looks much bigger compared to the rest. The rest of the unit is actually more of the traditional layout, whereby you will enter to the open kitchen and then the master bedroom is more inside, rather compared to the dumbbell layout kind. Now let's rank this accordingly. So for me, it's actually easy to pinpoint the last one, which is stack 1, because of its west facing. So I'll actually put it as the last choice. For the best layout, we actually pinpoint would be stack 3 because of its good facing over here, and the size is small, which actually keeps the quantum low and affordable here in PP63. And for the number 2 choice, we will actually select stack 10 because it is the only other corner unit compared to stack 3. Even when I open up the main door over here, I wouldn't be able to look directly inside, which gives you more privacy, and that's something that the other layouts do not really have, hence the ranking. Now I'm only left with stack 4 and stack 11. And why did we put it as third choice for stack 4 and fourth choice for stack 11 is just purely because of the facing itself. Stack 11 over here, there's actually a high chance of the views being blocked because there's actually another development called Zion Grand, which is right below this area over here.
Now I want to compare the Promenade Peak 2 bathers with the nearby newly TOP condos, which is Orwell Hill Residences. I will use the 657 square feet layout to compare with the 657 square feet layout of Orwell Hill. Looking at the floor plan of Promenade Peak, right, I have 2 colors here. Basically, when I'm comparing with Orwell Hill, for example, the master bedroom of Orwell Hill is 11.1, and then my master bedroom of Promenade Peak will be 12.8. So if this is bigger, right, the color is blue. It's the same for the living room. When I add up the living room and the kitchen space, total add up is 22.7. And then for Promenade Peak, this layout is actually 23.7. So when we compare these two, right, the only size difference is that the balcony is smaller for Promenade Peak. But overall, right, let's say when we come to the master bedroom, even the living and dining area, right, this Promenade Peak will have more usable space even though on paper it's the same size compared to Orwell Hill. And then when we compare the 678 square feet Orwell Hill layout with the 678 square feet layout of Promenade Peak, same thing, when we do a comparison like for like, right, the only difference between Promenade Peak and Orwell Hill is that Promenade Peak, we have a smaller balcony at 4.4 square meters compared to the one in Well Hill at 4.7 square meters. And then the other things like the living room, bedrooms, they are all bigger at Promenade Peak. So the usability is much better for all our 2 bedrooms at Promenade Peak, as we can see here. And when we see how much these layouts in Well Hill have sold for, right? Okay, in the past 2 years, they have sold 667 square feet, 67 square feet, and a range of about 2 to 2.23 million already. And that is already accepted in this area. Remember all these figures, okay? Because I want to compare this with the pricing that we are going to generate from Promenade Peak, the same 2 bed 2 bath layout. Okay? So you can remember, right? Well Hill just now we saw it's already 1.9 to 2.23 million for a smaller usable space. And now when it comes to Promenade Peak, right, we will get 2 range of this guesstimate pricing, which is already lower than Well Hill. For the lower floor Promenade Peak pricing, right, actually I can tell you, people that put check here for Promenade Peak, right, there's a high chance that they will put check over at River Green also. But on booking day, there will be so many different parts because you have to see your queue number for River Green, you also have to see your number for Promenade Peak. And at that point of time, you also have to see what is the available units and their pricing. Both of the queue will be different, and the both units available at your queue will also be very different. So how do we make such decision? For River Green, right, their 2 bed 2 bath layout have enclosed kitchen, and I can tell you some people will definitely prefer it. But let's say when it comes to my turn for River Green, because River Green is not as high as Promenade Peak. Promenade Peak, when we do the spread, I can get a mid-high floor at a lower PSF, but River Green have less units. So when it comes to my turn, right, maybe the mid-floor unit, the price in terms of the PSF can be quite high. And that overall quantum can actually be higher than the larger size Promenade Peak price. So River Green, higher floor, smaller size, can be more expensive than the lower floor, bigger size Promenade Peak here. So we have to be extremely calm and clear as to how much should I top up for River Green if I really want to have the enclosed kitchen. This is something that we should be clear even before we go down to the booking day. If I get a better queue at Promenade Peak, for example, and I get to access all these lower price points in Promenade Peak, which is good for me, compared to River Green, let's say River Green, my queue number is 300 queue later. How should I go about making all these decisions? If there is no planning or strategy, right, you will feel very stressed and you will miss out on a very good deal unit, regardless of whether you are looking at Promenade Peak or River Green. And as mentioned here, for 2nd to the 21st floor, based on our guesstimate pricing, this can be very similar to a mid-floor River Green 2 bed 2 bath 603 square feet, which is smaller. Over here we have 657 square feet. Imagine when it comes to your turn, right, River Green already don't have mid-floor, don't have low floor, that's high floor already. How should you choose based on the high floor pricing of River Green? This one you need to know, it's very important, okay? And for the higher floor Promenade Peak, this can be very similar price to River Green's 2 plus study at the same size of 657 square feet. So River Green mid-floor 657 square feet, if I can get same price compared to Promenade Peak, should I take it? Okay, between 2, if the same price, I'll take the better layout. But what if the prices are different? That's something that you need to be very clear about also, because you only have a little bit time to think about it.
Now comes the 2 plus study. Luckily, there's only 3 layouts. For these 2 units, Stack 5 and Stack 8, it's actually similar. The only different one will be Stack 9. That is slightly bigger at 797 square feet compared to the other 2 at 786 and 764. So for Stack 9, there's actually a L-shaped kitchen over here, whereas the rest of these 2 units is more traditional, that you walk into your open kitchen, then towards your living room and the rooms. Also something to take note, for Stack 8, there's the white railings, aluminum railings that we mentioned just now for these units. So if you don't like, then you have to avoid all these units that is listed over here. Then when it comes to ranking these 3 units, right, we will go by the elimination method first. For Stack 9, it has the highest chance of being blocked because of the development that we mentioned just now, Grand Zion, towards the south. So despite it being the only one with this L-shaped kitchen, we will still rank it as the 3rd choice. Then when we come to Stack 5 and Stack 8, for the extra 24 square feet of space, I'm actually getting a bigger master bedroom, 14.1 compared to 12.8 over here, which is actually even bigger than the 3 bed standard ones. And furthermore, the study area at 10.7 is the largest as well. So for me, Stack 8 is the best choice in terms of these 3 layouts.
So now we will compare this 2 plus study with Rivier's 2 bedroom. To make the calculations easier, right, I've tabulated the living and dining space add up with the kitchen for Rivier's 818 square feet layout. Okay, and then now we are comparing with a smaller 764 square feet at Promenade Peak. Okay, we can see, right, in terms of the layout, for Promenade Peak, the living room area is actually bigger at 34.4 square meters compared to the one at Riviera, which is 31. Of course, some of the other sizes here are smaller at Promenade Peak already. Okay, for the common bedroom, 10 square meter versus 9 square meter. And then for the master bedroom, for Promenade Peak is 18.2 versus Riviera's 19 square meter. So for these minor differences in terms of the bedroom sizes here, right, but the overall size of Promenade Peak is actually smaller than Riviera by almost 50 square feet already. So we might be able to get more savings when we compare to Riviera. Let's say if we calculate for the pricing for Promenade Peak. And similarly here, I use the bigger Promenade Peak 786 square feet layout to compare with the 840 square feet layout, based on these two comparisons, right, the living room for Promenade Peak is still bigger. And the smaller things about the house for Promenade Peak is that, for example, again, master bedroom slightly smaller, 19.5 square meters versus 20 square meters here, which is a difference of 0.5 square meters. And for the common bedroom, it's 1 square meter smaller. Other than that, the rest, like the balcony, okay, to be honest, I don't really use the balcony now, so the reduction in size from 8 square meters to 4.4 square meters to me is a no big deal. End of the day, I have to see what is the usable space here. And living dining area, I get bigger for Promenade Peak. Bedroom slightly smaller, 0.5 square meter here, 1 square meter here. If I can save a lot of money, I seriously don't mind considering Promenade Peak. And then now, when it comes to the price transacted over here for the Riviera, it has already hit 2.5 million already. So bear in mind, these are the pricing that already transacted for Riviera 2 bedroom. And then we are using it to compare with the Promenade Peak 2 plus study, which we will show you the pricing on the next slide. Based on our calculations again, take note, this 3065 PSF on the top floor is different from the 1 bedroom PSF that we calculated. If you have listened to our video earlier on, we have different pricing in terms of the PSF from the top floor down for the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom and 3 bedroom. Okay, and based on our guesstimate pricing, right, because over here we have a size of 764 all the way to 797. So based on the PSF calculations here, my guesstimate for the 2 plus study low to mid floor will be around 2.035 million to 2.269 million. And on the higher floor level, it will be 2.19 million to 2.442 million. So the question is, right, again, it's about pricing. Right? So we can see for the lower floor, around this pricing for Promenade Peak, okay, this pricing can be very, very close to a high floor River Green 2 plus study, also at the same size, 657 square feet. So which one will you choose? It can make a difference between choosing these two units there. But the pricing can be so similar. And when we go to the higher floor, right, should I consider this price point? Let's say 2.3, 2.4. Okay, because based on this price point, I can actually get a Robertson Opus 2 plus study, which is 999 years lease at 743 square feet. If you have seen our Robertson Opus video, the layout is very, very efficient. So it's actually around the same price for a low to mid floor here. And let's say when it comes to Upper House Orchard, okay, I can actually get a mid floor 2 bed 2 bath over here as well. So all these are a lot of moving parts that we have to discuss during the booking day itself.
Moving on to the 3-bedders, these will be the last 2 layouts for our Promenade collection. After these 2, we will eventually move on to the Promenade Suites collection. So anyway, these 2 units are coming at 1033 square feet and 1076 square feet respectively. And for this layout over here on the right, it's more of a vertical, whereas on the left, it's more of a horizontal layout. For these 2 layouts, they actually have windows at the master bath for ventilation. And another thing that actually caught our attention was the kitchen counter. Both sides actually have a kitchen counter window, which gives you a very nice view to the balcony. So based on these 2 layouts, I'll actually eliminate the stack 12 one, because firstly, this is west facing, and the living room dining position when you enter, right, is like at one corner, so it feels very small and a little bit awkward. Hence, this makes the other 3-bedder and stack 2 actually more attractive compared to this one.
Coming to the pricing, right, the 3 bedrooms, we have also adjusted the top floor PSF, which is lower compared to the 2 bedrooms and the 1 bedrooms now. Okay, and based on this, we have generated, really just guesstimate, please don't quote us, it's just for educational purposes, a guesstimate pricing for the 3 bedrooms at 2.67 million to 2.973 million. Based on this scenario, right, let's say if your queue number for Promenade Peak is good, and then your queue number for River Green maybe not so good. And then when it comes to River Green, right, maybe the same price you can get here will be the high floor River Green 3-bedroom price. But the problem is, the 3-bedroom size is only 872. So should I really go for this River Green 3-bedroom or not? Because when we see the size here, right, it's bigger than, so the per square foot is lower. Is it more worth it to consider this or this at the same price quantum compared to River Green's 3-bedroom at 872 square feet? This one is very, very tricky. So you need to be very, very aware when it comes to your queue, what are the other options available as well. Okay, and when we go to the higher floor levels, it's same like the 2 plus study now, we have much more options. Should I consider at this price point Promenade Peak 1000 over square feet? Or should I go for, if my queue is good, should I go for low floor River Green 4-bedroom, but it's 980 square feet? But 980 square feet, am I really going to use it as a 4-bedroom or not? Or am I going to hack one room down and become a 3-bedroom 90 square feet? Compared to this one, it's already 1000 square feet. These are the things that are very important to consider. If you want to buy for investment, you want to buy for own stay, the target audience might be different. So 3 bedrooms here at 1076 square feet, they might prefer this layout over a 4 bedrooms at 980 square feet. So you have to be very careful and you have to plan what is your exit strategy in terms of the number of years for you to choose the right unit, even though they both can be the same price. And over there, don't forget, we still have other choices. Upper house 3 bedroom 1012 square feet. Which one will give me high rental? I think this one will give me high rental, right? And over here, there's not much competition compared to the River Valley area. Even though both are in the CCR, traditionally upper house, the Orchard Boulevard area, the pricing is usually higher. So should I go for Promenade Peak, high floor? Or should I go for a lower floor over at this area where supply is lesser and the price is usually much higher? But now I'm actually able to have a chance to get it at the same price. And maybe, I can even consider a freehold 999 over here at Robertson Opens 3 study. So these are the things that are very, very important which you need to know before you even get to book all these kind of units. You have to be very careful. And now let's round up the Promenade collections. In terms of the finishings, these are from the 2nd to 42nd floor. And here are some visuals of the provisions that they give in terms of the kitchen and the carpentry, the DB box storage over here, together with the toilet. Because the next slide I'm going to show you what we have for Promenade Suites, which is 44th floor and above. Okay, so you take note of the finishings that they will be giving here. Compared to the next one at Promenade Suites, you can see it's slightly different over here already. This one looks a bit more premium. And for the kitchen itself, they will be using Ernesto Meda together with some of the nice finishings that we get over for the Promenade Suites. But of course, you have to pay higher price for all these units lah.
Now let's move on to the Promenade Suites, starting with the 3-bedder premium. So to make it easy for you to compare these two units, right, we put the two floor plans side by side, the blue ones. So for example, for this 12.8 compared to this at 7.6, the blue one will be labeled as the bigger one. Another example will be the master bedroom over here at 13.3 labeled in blue compared to 12.3 here labeled in red. Therefore, the bigger one is labeled in blue where the smaller one is labeled in red.
Okay, so we can see from here, right, both of them actually come with private lifts and they're actually under the Promenade Suites collection. Honestly, right, I prefer this layout. Because there's less wastage, I get a bigger master bedroom. The living room is slightly smaller, but I get one whole piece over here compared to this one where it's an L shape. The L shape, even though it's bigger, may actually feel slightly smaller. And kitchen over here is also wider at 12.8 compared to 7.6. So this is the layout that I definitely prefer. But when it comes to the Promenade Suites units, right, those above 44th floor, actually why do I even want to buy this floor level? It's because of the views, man. Alright. So even though this layout is better, right, I might not buy this layout. Why? Because at Stack 10, this is actually facing south. And over here, we know that there's another development upcoming by CDL called Grand Zion. There's a chance that this unit will be blocked at Stack 10. Because this Grand Zion over here is also very tall, it's still over stories. That's why when it comes to buying above 44th floor, right, to me, the most important thing is the facing and the west sun. So if this facing cannot make it, can I buy a lower floor, better facing at cheaper price, 3 bedroom? I can go and buy the 1076 square feet, correct? I buy better facing, I buy lower floor, end up it's still cheaper than the high floor, bigger unit over here which doesn't have a facing. So this one definitely is among these two, this one is my second choice. I will take first choice for Stack 3 here purely because of the view. And that is the most important thing when it comes to the Promenade Suites collection here. So at 44 to 62nd floor, these are where the Promenade Suite collection will be. Remember just now, right, for this 3 bedroom, we will take a markdown of the lowest price at 3,003. So based on this scenario, right, calculating the size of 1195 to 1163 square feet, right, this will give me a pricing of 3.48 million to 3.94 million. Okay, and at this pricing, take note, it can be very close price to upper house 3 bedroom at 1012 square feet. Upper house also have unblocked views. Then we compare with the higher floor Robertson Opus 3 plus study as well as the 3 bedroom premium. And the 3 bedroom premium over at Robertson Opus is very, very nice in terms of the finishings as well. So these are the things that we have to discuss before you even consider whether you want to consider this unit here at Promenade Peak or not.
So now let's take a look at the 4 bedrooms. We have a total of 3 layouts here ranging from 1421 square feet to 1582 square feet. These 2 layouts over here, it is quite similar except for some aspects in terms of, let's say, the bedroom. All the same are over here as compared to this one whereby the ensuite junior master bath towards the other side. And as you look at the kitchen over here, Stack 6 is the one with a window. Okay, then as we move on to the 1582 square feet, the slightly bigger one, the main difference here is also the kitchen, whereby as you can see it's really very wide with a kitchen island in the middle. So when we actually open up this sliding door over here, it makes the whole living area actually look really, really very big. When it comes in terms of ranking, to make it easy again, the side with any west facing would be our last choice, which will be Stack 12 over here. When we compare Stack 6 to Stack 8, at this 4 million to 5 million price point, right, I feel that more people will actually pay more for the better layout because it is already so expensive in the first place. So when you see Stack 8, when you look at the kitchen, it's the nicest and most unique among these 3 with the kitchen island as mentioned over here. And furthermore, its living room, master bedroom, and the junior master over here are all bigger. And they even have a powder room over here for the guests. So overall, this gives it a very artsy house that makes it a top choice among the 3 layouts over here.
Now we move on to the 4-bedroom pricing. This is on the 44 to 62nd floor. So remember, from the 3-bedroom top floor, we will have a markdown of about 4 to 2.5% from the 3 bedrooms to mark down to the 4 bedrooms. So the highest floor PSF we expect here, guesstimate again, is 3168 PSF, but the size is very big. So pricing guesstimate will be 4.15 to 5 million. At this price point, we have competitor in terms of the new launch around this area.
Why?
Because right, let's say when we talk about River Green, okay, the 4 bedrooms for River Green are 980 square feet. It's very small. It cannot be compared to this 4-bedroom layout, 1,004, 1,005 square feet. So this is definitely not a competitor in terms of River Green. And then when we come to, let's say, Upper House Orchard, their size for 4-bedroom is 2056 square feet. So that gives a price point of more than $7 million already. Furthermore, even Robertson Opus, their 4 bedrooms, right? 1539 square feet. For a mid-floor, the price is already about 5.3 million. And bear in mind, Robertson Opus is only about less than 15 stories tall. So the mid-floor, 5.38 million, maybe it's only about 7 to 8 floor or even 5th floor. But over at Promenade Peak, right? I can get a high floor unblocked view over here for less than the price, and I'm directly in front of Great World City. So this is a price point, or this layout at this price point really does not have much competition, which I feel that is something to consider if you want a 4 bedrooms in the central area.
And lastly, we finally come to the 5-bedders. For this, right, it is such a mega house. All the rooms over here actually comes with ensuite access to bathrooms, every single of the bedrooms. When we come to the living room over here, it is the same as one of the layouts of the 4-bedder premiums as we saw earlier, whereby for this part, you can actually slide it open. So the whole area over here connects the balcony, living, and kitchen as a one whole space, which makes the whole living area really very big. As you can see, the bedrooms over here are also slightly bigger at 11.6 compared to the rest at around 9 square meters. When we come to the facing of the unit, as we can see, this is west facing, so we would actually prefer the larger 4 bedrooms over this 5-bedroom layout, purely just because of the facing itself.
Okay, we have come to the final pricing guesstimate over here. Again, we have a markdown from the 4 bedrooms to the 5 bedrooms. Pricing estimate will be from 5.37 to 5.8 million. Okay, but based on this scenario, what are the other options I have? Probably Robertson Opus, 4 bedrooms at 1539 square feet. To be honest, for this layout, I actually prefer the larger 4 bedrooms layout. So this layout, I won't even consider. So sorry about it. But at this price point, if I can choose Robertson Opus 4 bed, I will choose. Because this one is 999 and the layout is very nice as well. We have come to the end of our sharing. Since you have watched so far, give us a like and subscribe please. There will be many launches coming in this couple of weeks. It will be extremely fast-paced, and sometimes you might not know how to make sense of things and grasp the different opportunities. Contact us and we will definitely be able to help you.
Also stay tuned to our upcoming River Green video, which also will be launching on the same weekend as Promenade Peak itself. And we might even do a Promenade Peak versus River Green comparison in the video also.
That's all, and I see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.